I'm not joking, Natasha said, her voice raised and trembling with urgency. At 25, she was a young nurse with striking blonde hair and a reputation for being quiet and diligent. But now, without hesitation, she drew back her hand and slapped the right cheek of the woman lying motionless on the cold, stainless steel table. The sharp crack of skin meeting skin reverberated through the sterile morgue. One technician gasped audibly. Another dropped a scalpel that clattered against the floor. No one moved. The entire room seemed suspended in disbelief. Only yesterday, Natasha had been the shy newcomer, nervously seeking reassurance and instructions from her senior colleagues. Now, that same timid nurse had just done something utterly unthinkable, something bordering on madness. "What the hell are you doing?" shouted Alexei, the assistant pathologist, his face pale with shock. His eyes were wide, panic flaring behind his glasses. His fists clenched at his sides as he took a step forward. "She's dead. That's the billionaire's wife, the one plastered across every front page this week." A suffocating silence fell over the morgue, broken only by the distant drip of a leaky faucet echoing against the tile walls. Everyone stood frozen in place. Natasha's heart pounded in her chest so violently she could hear it in her ears. Her gaze was locked on the woman's face, pale, serene, lifeless. Then suddenly, Natasha flinched. Had the woman's eyelids just fluttered? A trick of the light? A figment of an overworked imagination? I'm sorry," she murmured, her voice barely audible. "I don't know what came over me." But before anyone could respond, a movement, barely perceptible, disrupted the stillness. The woman's right hand gave a faint twitch. A second later, her chest rose ever so slightly with a hoarse, shallow breath. And then, astonishingly, her eyes opened. Irina's face twisted in a grotesque expression of terror and agony. Her mouth opened as if to scream. But no sound emerged, only a choked rasp of air. Several staff members instinctively stepped backward, their faces pale with disbelief. Another set of tools clattered to the ground. "Oh my God, she's alive," whispered Ludmilla, the senior autopsy nurse, her voice quivering. She stood frozen, clutching a clipboard to her chest as if it could shield her from the impossible scene unfolding before her. Natasha remained rooted to the spot, her mind reeling. Then, snapping into motion, she lunged for the nearest stretcher. Her hands shook violently as she wheeled it toward the table. Her thoughts were spinning. Irina Vadimovna, that was the name on the intake forms. Wife of Anton Golovin, the wealthy industrialist whose face had been all over the news. Irina had been officially declared dead over 24 hours ago. Natasha had helped undress the body, clean it, tag it. She'd even closed Irina's eyelids herself. The cause of death had been listed as a pending, awaiting internal examination. Senior pathologist Dmitry Konstantinovich, normally calm and deliberate, was the first to shake off the shock. "Luda, call an ambulance immediately," he ordered, his usual baritone rising sharply. Irina stirred again, her pale lips moving with effort. "Where am I?" she rasped. "It's cold, let me out." Natasha rushed to her side, the stretcher forgotten behind her. "It's okay," she murmured, kneeling beside the table. "You're safe. We're going to help you." Then, Glancing up, she shouted, "Somebody get a blanket. Now!" Several nurses snapped into action, fumbling for linens, casting wary, uncertain glances at Natasha, the same woman who had just slapped what everyone believed was a corpse. "I'm already calling an ambulance," Ludmilla yelled, her fingers shaking as she dialed emergency services. Suddenly, Irina reached up with surprising strength, her ice-cold fingers latching onto Natasha's wrist. Her grip was desperate. "Irina," the woman croaked, fixing her gaze on Natasha. "Don't leave me." Natasha went still, her breath caught in her throat. How does she know my name? A chill spread down her spine. She remembered the odd unease she'd felt the previous day, the way the body's makeup had looked too precise. How the skin wasn't as cold as it should have been. And yet, all the documentation had checked out. The death certificate, the physician's signature. Even the men who brought her in had worn official police uniforms. But something had felt off. And now, all hell was breaking loose. Word spread rapidly through the hospital like wildfire. Administrators were alerted. Security was called. And it was only a matter of time before the press caught wind. The morgue doors burst open with a loud bang. Sergei, the hospital's security chief, a burly man in his mid-40s with a permanent scowl, stormed in. "What the hell's going on down here?" he barked. "I just got a call saying a dead woman came back to life. Is this some kind of sick joke?" "No one's joking," Alexei replied grimly, his jaw tight. "Irina Vadimovna is alive. Somehow. She wasn't dead, more like, in a state of suspended animation. We don't understand it yet." By now, the emergency medical team had arrived and were swarming Irina with equipment. Monitors beeped to life as they connected her to vital sign sensors. The readings were alarming, her blood pressure was dangerously low, her pulse thready and faint. One of the paramedics frowned at the monitor and muttered, "Her metabolic rate is off the charts, slow. I mean, like she's been in some kind of induced coma. But she's alive. No question." Just then, a tall man in a charcoal gray overcoat entered the room with quiet authority. Roman Viktorovich Voloshin, an investigator from the regional prosecutor's office, was known for his cold precision. Beside him was Officer Savliev, younger and less composed, scribbling notes already. The room fell silent as the investigator surveyed the scene with a practiced eye. "What exactly happened here?" Voloshin asked sharply, his gaze cutting through the tension like a scalpel. Alexei stepped forward. "We're still piecing it together ourselves. The ambulance team is stabilizing her. But as of now, we have no logical explanation." Voloshin's eyes drifted to Natasha, who stood by Irina's side. Still pale, her hand gripped tightly by the barely conscious woman. "Who struck her?" he asked, though his focus never left Natasha's face. "Your name?" "Natasha Lebedeva. I'm 25. She replied, her voice hoarse, her hands trembling. "Tell me what happened," Voloshin said, his tone cool and clipped. Briefly, without emotion. Natasha's voice quivered as she began recounting the events, her eyes fixed on a spot on the floor as if afraid to meet anyone's gaze. She looked wrong. I don't know how else to describe it. Something told me she wasn't really gone. Her fingers clenched as she continued. I acted on instinct. I didn't mean to hurt her. Investigator Volushin remained silent throughout her account, his pen scratching steadily across a small leather-bound notepad. When she finished, he looked up, expression unreadable. You do realize you could be charged with desecration of a corpse, he said coolly. Possibly attempted murder? Yes. Natasha replied without hesitation. Her voice was low, but steady now. But if I hadn't done it, they would have started the autopsy. I couldn't let that happen. I just knew. Before Volushin could respond, a medic called out from across the room. She's stabilizing. Blood pressure's up. She's breathing on her own. A collective breath seemed to pass through the room. The tension loosened just slightly. Volushin pressed his lips into a tight line. He wanted to question Irina immediately, but the lead doctor stood firm. She needs to be transferred to a secure care unit first. She's still in critical condition. Natasha felt a brief swell of relief. Maybe now the worst was over. But then, Irina, barely conscious, lifted her hand weakly and motioned for Volushin. Please, she whispered hoarsely. I need to speak with him. Alone. In the hushed, sterile calm of the hospital ward, Irina revealed everything. Her words were faint but razor-sharp in clarity. I planned this, she said. All of it. It wasn't an accident. I wanted to die, or at least make it look that way. I needed to disappear. Her confession stunned even the seasoned investigator. She spoke of a life spent in luxury, but also in control. Her husband, Anton Golovin, wielded influence like a weapon. And she had long felt like a prisoner. She met Dennis, her lover and co-conspirator, during a business trip. With him, the idea was born. Fake her death and start over. They found forgers, bought a rare drug that could induce a death-like state, and prepared to flee the country once the funeral was complete. But the plan unraveled. The man who was supposed to come for me in the morgue, he never did. Irina whispered, her eyes glassy. Maybe he ran. Maybe he was paid off. Or maybe someone wanted me dead for real. She paused, a tear sliding down her cheek. And then she slapped me. Irina said softly. And I came back. The fallout was swift and chaotic. Police launched an urgent investigation. Irina's husband, Anton, arrived at the hospital in a fury, demanding to see her. She refused. She wouldn't even let his name be spoken in the room. During her formal statement, Irina admitted to wiring a large sum of money to Dennis just days before her staged death. The plan had been simple. Stage her demise, vanish abroad, and build a new life. But Dennis had betrayed her. He hadn't just failed to save her. He had actively tried to ensure she never woke up. He was arrested at the border, caught attempting to flee the country using forged documents. Under interrogation, he folded quickly. The charges were numerous: fraud, conspiracy, attempted murder. He was sentenced to over a decade in prison. As for Irina, her full cooperation with investigators and the unique circumstances of her case spared her any jail time. She was placed under protection for a period and eventually relocated. Natasha's life changed too. She was officially commended for her intuition and quick thinking. Promoted within the hospital. And, for the first time, truly respected by her peers. The story spread like wildfire across hospitals, newspapers, and eventually, national television. The tale of the nurse whose slap saved a life and uncovered a chilling conspiracy. Even now, walking down the gleaming corridors of the hospital, Natasha sometimes pauses, remembering that moment. The sharp crack of skin meeting skin. The gasp. The silence that followed. It wasn't just a slap. It was fate, disruption, and salvation all at once. It was the sound that split a lie in half and brought the truth roaring back to life. Dear viewers, what do you think about this story? Could you have trusted your instinct the way Natasha did? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And if this story moved you, inspired you, or left you breathless, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. See you next time.